Our affirmation that we're using this morning for our message is, I am a powerhouse of divine energy. How many of you feel like a powerhouse of divine energy all the time? To be a powerhouse of energy and to feel that all the time is really something that in today's environment we seem to be lacking and miss. We seem to get tired and worn out, and we seem to not have the vitality and strength and even the interest in life maybe that we used to, or so it seems. The question this morning is, why am I so tired? Why am I so tired? Someone was asking me last week, why are we all so tired? And the idea was, they started talking, it was a group of people, and they started talking, they said, Dr. Costello, it was actually one of the hospitals that I work with, and some of the nurses were standing around, they said, why is it that we feel so tired today? It's this lack of energy and this tiredness and the fact that time is just speeding up and this idea that time's going faster, we have less time and the intensity and all of the things that are going on. And you know what happened in that conversation? I was reminded of the principles of our faith. The principles of New Thought are based upon the fact that the most powerful and dynamic connection that we have with spirit and with the world, with our worldly experience, our human experience, our spiritual experience, comes from where? From our mind, from our thinking. But this little conversation reminded me of how effective and true the faith is, because as we were talking, they kept getting more tired and talking about how bad the world was, why, and on and on. And you know what? There weren't a lot of solutions, but what happened was I saw in dynamic action, just like you do all around you everywhere in your daily life, and as you see it in yourself, as I see it in myself, that thoughts in mind create after their kind. The thoughts in mind create after their kind. Your mind is a dynamic powerhouse, and I'll tell you how it operates. And I'll tell you the truth about New Thought. A lot of our churches, not this one, but a lot of our churches use the word science, Christian science, divine religious science. Why do they say that? Because they say it's a scientific principle. And then those of us who are educated in some of the sciences say, well, in the secular world, there's nothing scientific about those scientific religious groups. But there is. When you meditate, if you meditate, and I hope you do, or you go to a peaceful place and you look out at the beauty of nature and you say, something has happened physiologically within your body. And what has happened is your brain has changed. Your thought has changed. Your mind has changed. From a scientific standpoint, we call it the alpha and the beta waves. And I'll just touch on it ever so briefly. And that's the science of this. And it is a science in that we begin to move from the beta state into the alpha state. And when we do, something dynamic happens. You know what the beta state is? It's a state where the frontal lobe of your brain, scientifically proven a reality, the frontal lobe of your brain is pulsating at a high rate. That's where we are most of the time. And when you get upset and you get concerned, the beta state is even more. Because it's filtering, it's operating, it's questioning, it's reasoning, it's doing all this stuff. And so that part of your brain is part of your brain that says, I read the paper and I say, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? That's part of your brain that says, I lost my job. How am I going to pay my bill? You begin to filter these things. So it begins to filter. The alpha stage, there's no filter. So when we move into the alpha stage, something happens. And what happens is, we are open and receptive to the truth. So if you use an affirmation and you use it and you're in the beta state, you may say it and say it and say it. But if you get into an alpha state and you say it and say it and say it, what happens? It becomes reality and it is brought into your mind as truth. And so that's the scientific dynamic of it. It's real. It's easy to prove. And it's not unique to New Thought. It is used widely in all kinds of movements. Do you know that the grocery stores and the casinos know it? They keep you moving from the beta to the alpha state, and that they do that. And that movement is so that you can be open and receptive. So from a spiritual standpoint, we can be open and receptive. So our minds, when they're open and receptive, can do all things. We know that our minds can tell our bodies what to do. We just don't know how to do it. We don't know how to make the mind do that. And so our issue is, how do we create this powerhouse of vitality and strength and health and joy and happiness? How do we do that? Well, we do it by simply employing the technique that we call being aware of the dynamic of mind action. And mind action is, just what we said earlier, thoughts in mind create after their kind. And are you creating in this powerhouse a winding down and a wearing out, poor feeling, or are you creating a dynamic of happiness and joy and health and prosperity despite appearances to the contrary? Despite appearances to the contrary. Mary Baker Eddy brought us that. Appearances, what it appears to be. When you read the newspaper, what's it appear to be? Bad news? Sure. And if you go along with the bad news, what happens if you look at the bad news and you see beyond it to the reality and truth of that which is? What if you see a war and you know that there's going to be peace? What if you look at your checkbook and it's empty and you see it not empty, but you begin to see it full? And you begin to change your way of thinking. It's fundamental. We talk about it over and over again. We talk about it because it's such a major part of who and what we are. What is the affirmation today? I am a powerhouse of divine energy. You know, you all said that in a beta state. You know, when I say I am a powerhouse of divine energy, when I say an affirmation, I don't say it to just say it. I say it because of its practical application. And I say it and say it and say it. And if you want the scientific data and information about why it works and what it does, I say it and say it and say it, just like everyone else has in New Thought from the foundations of these teachings, until I change the state of consciousness in my mind from beta to alpha. That's the scientific and physical side. But when I do that, then that statement becomes a reality in my life, and it operates, and I say it and say it and say it. So, why am I so tired? Why am I so tired? Well, you're so tired because you're so tired. And you have within you the powerhouse to recharge yourself with limitless energy. Do you ever see people that never seem to run out of energy, that have enough to do? You know what the difference between them and us, those of us who get tired of things, is? They're doing something that they enjoy and that they love. And your energy level can go from 0 to 110. And your joy level can go the same. And your health can go from too weak to walk to running and praising and being joyful. Your financial situation can go from the lowest of the level to the highest level that you wanted to. Not Pollyanna, not mind over matter, but the simple reality and truth of the dynamic of mind action. So the good news is that we have a powerhouse of divine energy that will bring us strength of body and mind, health in the face of any kind of illness, joy in the midst of sadness, and prosperity beyond our wildest imagination if we will just stop looking at the facts and allow ourselves to have that dynamic come forth. The good news is that you have a powerhouse within you that has limitless supply. It is your mind. It is your mind. And your mind is connected with the divine mind of God. And you are one with the presence and power of God. This is not something hollow that someone wrote down in books and gave lectures about and just talked about. These things are real and substantive and have been proven over and over again in their ability to transform and change lives. That's the practical aspect of this faith. And the practical aspect of this faith is that if you are tired, you can say in the face of your weariness and tiredness, I am a powerhouse of divine energy. But if you start out saying, I'm a powerhouse of divine energy, I'm a powerhouse of divine energy, I'm a powerhouse of divine energy, then that's okay. Say it till you get weary of it. Then start to say it like you mean it. As you say these affirmations, as you repeat them over and over again, verbally or mentally, and the more dynamically, the stronger and the more profoundly you feel them, the more alive and real they will be, and they will manifest the truth within you. And that is the good news. All right? So what are you? You are powerhouse of divine energy. And this week, ask yourself every time you're tired, why am I so tired? And use this affirmation and say it and say it and believe it and know it and know it. And the more you say it, the more you know it, the more real it'll become, and your life will be changed.